Good evening, everybody, and this is Mentioum. I've just released a rather longer video where I kind of just ramble on while I'm building one of those torches from the video that I did the other day, and went into quite a lot of detail about how the particle system worked, explained every single part of it, also even scaling of textures, some stuff about snapping objects to the grid while you're building. I even covered some stuff about point lights, and in general I went into a lot of detail, and it meant that that video was about 30 minutes long. So what this video is going to do, I'm just going to show how to build this particular torch, the one that I did a minute ago, this specific one right there, which is for wall mounting. It's a torch which you'd stick on a wall. Obviously this one's blue, but it can be whatever color we want. We'll make a red one in a minute, or maybe a pink or a green or whatever. Maybe a green one would be quite fun. Yeah, this one's just meant to be a lot shorter. So without further ado, I'm going to get on with it. So as always, you can just clone that and make another one really, really quickly, and that's how I would always recommend people to do it in this situation. But I want to show people the full process. So let's get started, shall we? Just going to quickly create a light source so I can see what I'm doing. So this is exactly how I'd build normally. I'm just going to create a point light, stick it up in the air, give it some range so I can see a bit more. Woo, not that much range, just about that. Just so I can see what I'm doing while I'm building, and so you can kind of see perspective a little bit. And it just helps. I actually normally create a couple of them, just like that, to kind of light it, just like you would actually with a real camera setup, about 3-point lighting system. Anyway, here I've got my clear cube with its basic settings on it. So I want to make that. It's not going to be exactly the same because that would just be a little bit annoying having to make it exactly the same. So here, let's go make it wood. Wood. All the way down here. It's this one. There we go. And the color on it is probably about right. It's just very bright with that lighting as it is. Yeah, that's probably about right. We can check it here. Nope, it's grey. That's why it's difficult to see. Okay, cool. So clone that, take this, slide that down, make it a bit wider. So all I'm doing here is I've just cloned the cube, and then I'm widening that same cube so it stays centered on itself. It's an easy way to create more things very, very quickly from a central object. So here, let me see. Which one was it? It was this one? No, it wasn't that one. It was which texture did I use? I used that one. It's the one, and it's quite bright. I want to stretch it out, make it square, just like that. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, as I said. Like it's fine if it's slightly off on that bit. Cloning that because I want it again, just here. And now this is where we're going to start to realize. Look how much shorter this one is than the other one. So I'm just going to straighten that bit a bit more and move that down there. That should be all right now. Move this bit up a bit. There we go. I might end up with, I could do other things as well. I could design a different torch, but the idea of this is just so you guys can see what I'm doing very, very quickly, and so that you can copy it yourselves, basically. So just getting this into place, like this. There we go. It's quite a long way out. It doesn't actually matter how much those cross over, so I'll just put it inside like that. Right, so now I've got the basic shape. That's all fine and dandy. I'm just going to group that. Control G is obviously the shortcut. And we've got the basic object. Now, the two objects which we need to add to this particular torch here now are, there's an invisible object just here, which is actually the light source. You can see here. That's where the blue light is coming from, which is shining not actually from this point. And also the other object is that bit. There's an invisible octagon shape, actually, in this case, which allows you to have the particle effect on it, so you can move it around independent of what you can actually see in the world, because those are both completely invisible in play mode, as you can see. You can't see them at all. So time to create those over here. So what I'm going to do is I'll make another cube just quickly, because that was the last thing I selected. Of course, it takes the whatever material you had last selected. So I selected the invisible material there and pasted it here. If I select that one with the wood, and then I do that, see, it pastes the wood. Neat little trick. Anyway, on wood, because this is meant to be nice and short for people on how to build the light stuff. So this is where I put the light. And I'm not actually going to put the light on it yet, because we won't really be able to see because of these lights up here. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do the particle effect next. So once again, I'm going to think of a shape in this one I did use the octagon, but I'm actually going to, I found out when I did the other tutorial that if you use the teardrop, you can actually get a cooler flame shape. Because of the, when you use particle systems, it creates the particles at the actual points on the object. That's where the particles come out. This shape works really, really well for making a flame because they come out in this shape. So the bits that come out of the top actually end up go further than the bits which come out of the bottom, and it means you end up with something which looks more like a flame. So I'm just going to put that in like, oopsie, let me just make it so my flight speed's a little slower so you guys don't fly around a bit. And that can just go like that. Now we can add a particle effect, turn it on. Now by default, the particle system has gravity turned on, so turn that to 0. And then also the particle velocity is set. It's got initial local velocity. We don't actually want a local velocity. We want a global velocity because we always want the flames to go up because they're hot, and that's how it works. I happen to know that the values that I want are 0.1 and 0.3 here. And you'll see now that's kind of like a sort of like a flame-ish kind of style, I suppose. I think that looks about right. I'm just going to quickly do that to make sure that I've got enough. I need a few more particles because it's not covering the whole object. The particles aren't coming out everywhere, and now they are. That's a little bit more like it. And I think we also should turn the particle size down a little bit so we can see the whole flame. Like, yeah, I think that's all right. And of course the color. So the way the color works very, very quickly is that you basically have a lifetime. I'll make that 2 seconds. You basically have a lifetime for a flame, and then what happens, a lifetime for every single particle has a lifetime. And the colors here, it goes through them one by one vertically to make a gradient of those colors. By default, the minimum is 2, and it's also the default. You can have up to 8, which you can blend through, so you can kind of make like a rainbow kind of effect. So if you wanted something to be one color, you would just set both of these to the same color. So if I wanted this to be completely pink, I would set both to bright pink, and it would just be pink from beginning to end. The reason why it's white in the middle is because it's oversaturated from the lights. And that's just an effect you'll have to deal with, and you can deal with that by using darker colors. So if I used that and that, it would be slightly smaller. But either way, it's always going to be an issue if you have too many particles in one particular place. So what we want to do, we want to make this look like a red flame. So let's start with a deep red and go to a bright red, just like that. That's probably a bit too red. Let's try something like brick. That's quite a good fiery color, I think. And you see what's happening is it's being dark red at 0. So at the beginning of at 0 seconds, it's black color, and then all the way while it goes from 0 seconds to 2 seconds, it blends between that and that because that's at 1. So that's at the very end of 2 seconds. It goes to that color, and I think that actually works really, really well. So I'm going to just leave that now. I'm happy with that. So now we just need to make the light. So we just go here, point light. Now that's really quite bright. It's very, very difficult for us to tell. So I'm actually going to quickly delete these 2 cubes up here so we can see what we're doing more accurately. So here we go. You can see we've got this really bright white light here. So first things first, let's make it a bright red color. Now that's probably a bit red. So let's try something a little bit more washed out. Maybe. I suppose the dark red does give a very, very... That's better. That's the one I want. This burgundy. Good color right there. So range, I'm going to set it to 5 because this isn't a very bright torch. Intensity, I'm going to leave at 1. And then I'm not 51. I just want that at 5. Thank you. Click out of that window to get out of that. And then you see I'm just going to move it into a position where it seems believable. In this situation, because it's not actually on a wall, it makes sense for the light thing to just go above it so that the light looks natural on the floor. But if we have a wall, let me just quickly make one to show this reasoning here. Unfortunately, it's not a very useful material right now. We go down and let's make it'll need to be sort of stone or something, right? Let's make a wall out of this brown brick, yeah? Scale it a bit, just like this. Okay, snap, snap, there we go. Just snap it all into position. And then let's say we were going to put this on the wall. It's a pretty small wall, but, you know, whatever. Now you see I've forgotten to group these 2 objects with it. So you know how we have the light object and we have the other particle effect object? You need to select those and then just group it all together, Control G, and now that's all one object and easy to move around into place. So as you can see here, I've moved the torch up against the wall, and it looks very bright here, and that's actually quite accurate. That's kind of how it would be. But if you wanted to make sort of like the area down here a bit brighter, what you'll find is that if you make the light source, remember the little object that we've got here, if you make that any brighter, so if we start increasing its range, what'll happen is that you'll start actually getting, especially if this wall's shiny, this particular material here isn't, but if we change that to something which does have a shine to it, like that, you see how it just gets really, really washed out? It's not something which we really want to happen. What we want to happen is for the light to look like it's being thrown around the room. And so what you can actually do is you just move that, especially if I move that there, look, this whole wall's being completely lit up. And so basically it's useful to have this separate so you can move it around just to change what the light looks like in general. And it actually looks okay up there with this particular texture, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Yeah, so there you go. That's how you make a torch in UemeU, and you know, the colors all work together and everything like that. So look, if I go over here, you'll see that it's actually reflecting on the night. This white color on the background's a bug, which we're working on right now with the global lighting. But if you imagine that that's not there and you just look at the front, you can see that it creates a really, really nice effect. It's very, very easy to do. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. That's how you make a torch in UemeU. Don't forget that when you finish building anything like this, you can just go over to it, select it, go on down here, save it as torch. There we go. And then you just remember, I always line it up in the middle of the screen so you can see it nicely. It takes a screenshot, and there we have it, torch, for use in any other map or whatever, anything like that. So I tell you what, I'm going to I'll put a link to that particular save file so that people can put it into their UemeUs as well, so they can have a look at it specifically and everything like that themselves. Thank you very much for watching. This has been UemeU. For those who don't know, you can buy UemeU at UemeU.com. And if you need any help and support from UemeU, send an email to support@UemeU.com. If you want to get in touch with me directly, you can always hit me up on Twitter at Mentioum, Mentioum. The link will be in the description. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Mentioum. Catch you later.